Is this really the worst edition of the Ork Codex? Stay tuned to find out. Oh, seriously? Hey you guys, 6+ Stevo here with another video for you. This video is the first in a series of videos in which me and you are going to be travelling backwards in time to take a look at these, some of the older editions of the Ork Codexes. Why are we doing this? I don't know, just for fun really. Nostalgia, just something to do. We're going to go back, we're going to take a look at these codexes one after the other and just see, just for our enjoyment, how the orcs have changed over the years. You know, different editions of the game, how competitive they were. Just take a look in the books at the fluff and the lore, and you know, see what's changed and how orcs have evolved over the years. And yeah, sure enough, the first episode of which we're going to be taking a look at this, the 7th edition Ork Codex. A codex that is steeped in controversy, shall we say, not highly regarded by the majority of Ork players. So yeah, why was that? Well, come on, let's open the book up and take a look. So yeah, here we are, table down guys, so we can get a closer look at this thing. And straight away I want to say I love the front cover of this. As of filming this, we still don't know what the 8th edition codex is going to look like. I do hope though, as much as I do like the image on this, I do hope that the 8th edition is not just a repackage of this. We've seen that with quite a few of the other codexes that have come out. They've just simply re-released the old image from the previous codex and sort of tweaked certain bits of it, but yeah, it's a little bit lazy, I think. The artwork on all these codexes is amazing, and I do like it, but I don't know, it's going to get confusing in sort of years to come when you're sort of going through the different codexes, and I don't know, the only way you're going to be able to tell them apart is from the slightly different sort of fonts or the borders around the edge or something. But yeah, anyway, I digress. 7th edition Ork Codex. I loved what they did with these. They really, from previous codexes where they were sort of paperback and stuff, when they went to these hardcover ones, I really like the hardcover format of these codexes. And I love the way that it's sort of like a matte finish here, and then the sort of the figure, this orc fella here, is sort of got this nice glossy touch to it, and you can sort of feel the raised sort of lettering. It's got a really nice, slick, professional sort of look to it. And you've got on the back there just a little display of the army, a little bit about the orcs, here we go, and just telling you a bit of what's included in there. So yeah, without further ado, let's take a look inside. Straight away, met with some cool artwork there. We've got the cool thing here, Daka. Whoa! Awesome stuff. And then we get the introduction to the orcs. Anyone watching this doesn't really need to hear the introduction. We know it all by now. The artwork in these books really is cool. These modern codexes, when we went from, as we'll discover as we go through the later episodes, the older codexes had a lot of black and white artwork and stuff, which personally I do actually really like. But yeah, these colour images and stuff are, I mean, you can't deny it's beautiful artwork. We've got a cool scene here with orcs just charging Tau gun line and just decimating them, which is all shades of awesome. And then we get into here the barbarous hordes, just going into a little bit of the orcs sort of creation, and you know, how they were created by the lost race, basically the old ones, or how the orcs referred to them as the brain boys. And it's got one of my favourite quotes here regarding the orcs, and I'll read it out here for you. "The orcs are the pinnacle of creation. For them the great struggle is won. They have evolved a society which knows no stress or angst. Who are we to judge them, we elder who have failed, or the humans on the road to ruin in their turn? And why? Because we sought answers to questions that an orc wouldn't even bother to ask. We see a culture that is strong and despise it as crude." And that quote was from Ulthuan the Perverse, an elder philosopher. Yeah, so that is one elder that gets a little bit of my respect, because he gets it. And you just got, like I say, there's quite a bit of fluff and lore in this codex. You get quite a bit of stuff in here. You got stuff about Gretchen, the Snotlings, the Squigs, and really goes into it in quite a good way. You get some cool sort of stories and stuff about how they infest space hulks and stuff, and you get this cool map of where they're sort of what they're up to in the galaxy as we speak. All the different wars going on, War Ghazghkull and War Nazdrek there, heading in towards Armageddon and Fenris and stuff. So yeah, good stuff. And as you can see, orcs are everywhere, which is as it should be. Goes into greenskin culture, talking about how orcs just love nothing than to fight, war, the orc gods. You get stuff on the orc glyphs, so this is quite cool for anyone wanting to sort of customize things, be it terrain or banner poles or whatever. You can sort of you know, through the glyphs you can create sort of a customized kind of thing for your war boss. It's pretty cool stuff. You got like the different symbols, like the fist means boss, explosions that mark there means Daka. You know, it just sort of teaches you a bit of this sort of orc language, which is really cool. And then we go into the tribes and clans, and this is really quite extensive actually. It's really cool. It goes into each clan in detail, tells you exactly all about them. Like we start off with the Goths, as is expected, and then with each one you get sort of a bit of a lore about a certain sort of Goth character. So we got Gutrak Deathhead there, cool name. Evil Sons, the Bad Moons. Gotta love a bit of Bad Moons on this channel. And we got a bit of lore there about Mogdos Gilttooth, said to be the richest orc in all of Caradon. Good stuff. It goes in there talking about the freebooters trying to find his treasure. And then we go more snake bites, blood axes, death skulls, and the verminous freebooters. But good old Captain Badrock. Gotta love a bit of Captain Badrock. And it talks about how wars are formed, you know, how one war boss will dominate a clan and then dominate other clans, and sort of, you know, other clans will be drawn as the war sort of builds and generates more hype, more orcs and stuff come to the cause, and then, you know, an orc war band can eventually be sort of, can contain several clans and different war bands that have all come to fight for the cause. And then this is cool. In the 7th edition, of course, we can't forget that this was when we had the release of Grukk Face Ripper, a really cool character. And this section of the book, War Grukk, goes into how he came to power, what he's been up to, the campaigns he's led, and it's really extensive, which is kind of why I'm quite shocked that they've just let him slip away into nothingness. It's a real shame, because he's a cool character with a cool model, and they really did go all out here. It goes into his whole warband and talks about all the different I don't know what the word would be, mobs. I was just going to say detachments and stuff, but it would be mobs. Like, these are all the different war bosses and the different units and stuff that work for Grukk Face Ripper. I like this one. Ghazghkull de Flash. Some of the names are cool. The Skullcracker Mega Knobs. This book, I've got to say, in terms of like if you're trying to sort of flesh out your army and think of names and things like that, it's a really good source of inspiration, which is one of the reasons I'm glad I've still got this book and I didn't get rid of it, because, you know, for years into the future I think I will keep coming back to this book and reading up certain bits just to inspire me and get my creative juices flowing. The Split Grin Bad Moons. Another reason I really like this book, being a Bad Moon player, this book's got a lot to answer for actually, because it really does, as you'll see later, have a lot of inspiration for any Bad Moon player. Ghazghkull, of course. We can't do orcs without talking about the big man himself, and this goes all into about how he's blessed by Gork and Mork and the war for Armageddon. He is the big bad. And then we've got a bit of history here, the Green Tide, talking about famous battles and stuff that they've been in. Really good stuff. And it's worth reading. I think a lot of people get these codexes and stuff and they don't read a lot of the fluff and the lore. They go straight to the rules section and see what they can do. But actually, when you read this stuff, it really sort of brings the army to life and, like I say, inspires you to create characters. You might read about sort of a lesser known character in one of these bits and think, oh, I like the sound of him, he's cool. I want to convert a war boss to sort of represent this guy. Or it might just sort of inspire you to come up with your own characters and theme your clan or your army in a certain way. And then we've got some more artwork. We've got some of the more the studio armies and stuff. So we've got the big goth mob here, and then here we are. This is the section I like, and this is where they went all out with Bad Moons. And actually the Gorkanaut here was my inspiration for my Gorkanaut. I basically ripped this one off completely. I loved the way they reversed the head and got the sort of Cyclops eye on there, and the pose he's got. I've literally, you know, virtually copied that one down to the T. I can't wait to paint it. I love the Gorkanauts and the Morkanauts to a lesser extent, and of course this is when they were released as well, to coincide with this codex. And although, as we'll see in a minute, they weren't that good, but regardless, I absolutely love the models. I would like to get more of them. We got the Flash Gitz as well. This was when they were released, the actual models for them. Yeah, it's just it's cool. A sea of yellow. I love it. And here we are. This page right here. This is essentially what I want my army to become. A big dread mob. As you can see, loads of killer cans, Gorkanauts, Morkanauts, Death Dreads. We got mech guns, we got mechs, we got big mechs, we got mega knobs. This is it right here, guys. This is the Bad Moon army that I want. Yeah, this is the inspiration for me. I'm gonna keep looking at this picture and keep dreaming one day when I get the paint on them and get them built and keep adding to them and build up to a good dread mob. But it's really striking, the yellow, like I say, it really does pop. Got the Stomper there, not a model I'm personally a big fan of. It's fantastic value, and I know a lot of people like it. For me though, I don't know what it is about it I don't like. I think it's the sort of way it almost looks like it's wearing a skirt. I don't know. It just, to me, this model looks like a conversion. It looks like a kit bash. It looks like it's been, you know, a bit of plastic card stuck over stuff, which, you know, is not necessarily a bad thing. They are orcs after all, but I don't know, there's just something about it which I'm not overly keen on. For me, the Gorkanauts, Morkanauts, I think are much nicer models, but I know a lot of people disagree with me on that one. And like I say, as you can see, there is just so much Bad Moons in this book, and it is it's awesome. I love it. Flash Gitz again, they feature quite heavily. I think because the 7th edition, this codex was when the Flash Gitz, the Ghazghkull, the Morkanaut was released and stuff, so it did have a very sort of Bad Moon freebooters sort of vibe about it, you know, firepower, big mechs and stuff, so that's why they kind of feature quite predominantly in this codex. But it's not all Bad Moons, we got some speed freaks as well. So there's lots of pictures of painted models and armies and stuff here. And we get onto the Orcs war gear list, and we got some of the things we won't see any more of. Well, possibly we will. We've got some old favourites here: the Dead Shiny Shooter, the Thinking Cap, the Fixer Uppers, and the old favourite, the Lucky Stick, Head Whoppers Kill Chopper. Something that's recently made a comeback in the chapter approved. Awesome weapon. There's much else in there of note. And then we get into it. Good old War Boss, classic one there. War Boss was a good model. Very reasonably priced, 60 points. And as you can see, the statistics have changed somewhat. You've got the ballistic skill of 2 now. We didn't have the sort of 5+ ballistic skill, although ballistic skill 2 is essentially 5+. Yeah, the War Boss hasn't changed a whole lot actually. He is largely the same. The special rule War: once per game at the start of any of your turns after the first, a model with this special rule can, if he is your warlord, call a War. On the turn he does so, all friendly units made up entirely of models with the Here We Go special rule may charge in the assault phase even if they made a run move in the same turn. Now this was made quite a bit weaker than previous editions, as we'll see in future episodes of this. And it's just one of the things that this book did make a little bit weaker. I'm looking for special rules, but they must be further down, sort of the army-wide special rules. We got the Weird Boy. So a Weird Boy generates a bonus +1 warp charge point if at the start of your psychic phase there are 10 or more models with the Here We Go special rule within 12 inches of him. God, it's so different. It's amazing actually when you look back at these books. I mean, I haven't really looked back through this book much in preparation for this video. I'm sort of looking through it with you guys, and it is amazing actually. You don't realise quite how much the game has changed. We've got a mech is an HQ choice. Crazy. Oh, there we are. For each HQ choice in a detachment, not including other mechs, you may include a single mech chosen from the state sheet. These selections do not use up force organisation slots. Ah, yeah, I remember that actually. Very different. Cool model, this one. I don't own this model, but you've got the custom Mega Slugger and that. And he's just, I do like that model, I must admit. We've got the old shock attack gun there. Pain Boy. Another cool quote here. Orcs never lose a battle. If we win, we win. If we die fighting. So it don't count. If we runs for it, we don't die neither. Because we can come back for another go, see? I fucking love it. Orcs are the coolest. Mad Doc Grotznick. Got the warlord trait, brutal but cunning. And he's got a special rule: 1 scalpel short of a med pack. Doc Grotznick and any unit he joins have the fearless and rampage special rule. Once Doc Grotznick has joined the unit, he may not leave it unless he is the last remaining. So pretty cool. I mean, he just makes them fearless. That's huge. And this is back at a time where they can join any unit. So yeah, that's damn. This is This is 7th edition though, guys. This is back at a time when we had the so-called Death Star units, and I'm personally very glad to see the back of those, because I know a certain player who I play regularly who would abuse that royally. Here he is, one of my old favourites, Captain Badruck, with a very cool gun, the Ripper. Good stuff. Boss Zagstruck, still HQ choices, and then we got the good old boys and the Grotts. So again, these have changed a fair bit actually. Boys are still the same points now as they were in 7th, but they are better now than they used to be. For example, in here they're strength 3, now they're strength 4, because they used to get the special rule Furious Charge, which I think gave them +1 strength and +1 attack on the charge, which was nice, but now we're strength 4 all the time, regardless of whether we charge or not. But what I do miss is this: the entire mob may take heavy armour for 4 points a model. Oh, GW, please, please, I beg you, bring that back in the new codex. Hard boys are so cool. It makes such a difference having a 4+ save to a 6+ save. You pay the points for it, mind, 4 points each. It's making you pay 10 points per boy, but they really did have their uses for taking objectives and stuff. You want something a bit tougher, a bit more staying power. It did make a lot of difference. Yeah. Another weird thing, I forgot that. The entire mob may replace their slugger with shooters for 1 point per model. Really weird decision that was, to make shooter boys cost more than slugger boys, because I think the general consensus, in 7th edition, was that slugger boys were a lot better. Shooter boys were good. They've both got their uses. But yeah, it was really weird, because you're obviously losing the extra attack, but yeah, they obviously, GW felt that having 2 shots assault weapon made up for that and was worth spending more. I don't agree personally, but there you go. We've got the good old Grotts, 35 points for a squad, 3 points each for every other Grott you want to add. Runt herds here was an upgrade, like a squad sergeant which would keep them in line. And they were compulsory then as well, I think. So where does it say about where it includes? Yeah, unit composition: 10 Gretchen, 1 runt herd. So yeah, runt herds were compulsory. Unlike now, you don't need to take runt herds. You're very wise to take them though, because Grotts are fairly useless without them. Oh, burner boys, the tank busters, and these are the models. Not a big fan of these. They're okay, but they're fine cast now, unless you get the really old metal ones, which I imagine cost a bit of a bomb. I do have the squig bombs though, because they're really cool and I love the models. And tank busters, they were good in this edition. Glory hogs. In a mission that has the First Blood secondary objective, the Ork player receives double the normal victory points from the objective if the first casualty to be removed is an enemy vehicle that was destroyed by an attack made by 1 or more units of tank busters. So they weren't, I don't know, were they as better here than they are now? Well, now they get re-rolls when they're targeting vehicles, which is just superb. They obviously didn't get that then. However, each rocket had the chance to destroy a vehicle, unlike now with the high wound count of vehicles and stuff. The way vehicles worked, very different. The ultra expensive mega knobs, but gorgeous, gorgeous models. I love them. I do love them, but they're just so damn expensive. And not exactly cheap on points either. So I can't actually tell you guys whether these are competitive or whether they were competitive back then, because I haven't been rich enough to own them yet. I do, however, own a fair few of the standard knobs, which I do like. They are a good unit. But yeah, again, knobs used to have to pay an extra for your heavy armour. You don't have to do that now. They come with a 4+ savers standard. One knob may take a war banner, so the war banner wasn't a separate sort of character like he is now. He was an upgrade to the mob, which I don't know, I kind of like a bit better, I think. I'm not sure on that one. The game is so different now, the way it works with characters and aura abilities and stuff. Independent characters was very different then. Commandos, yeah, so they had the special rules: infiltrate, move through cover, stealth. And how many points were they? 10 points each. Pretty reasonable, really, for what they can do. Boss Snickrot. Ah, the truck. Now the truck. This thing was paper thin. What have we got? Ballistic skill 2, front, side and rear armor 10. For those of you that are very new, armor is very different now. Vehicles have wounds like everything else. I mean, obviously back then in 7th edition we had armor facing values, so if you targeted the front of the vehicle or the side of the vehicle, you had to penetrate and roll off against its armor, and 10 was essentially the lowest armor you could get, and this thing had 3 hull points. It could go down so easy. In the new edition it's a lot tougher, and I was really looking forward to my trucks being, so much better. However, in the new edition now, trucks, although they're a lot tougher, they're also a lot slower. This truck used to be a bit speedier because it was a vehicle, fast, open top transport, fast. Now I can't remember exactly because, like I say, it's been a while. I'd have to look at the actual old rule book at what fast vehicles used to be able to travel. But 30 points, an absolute steal. It was a great way to just, as a suicidal unit, to just fling it up the board, turn 1, the maximum distance, and if any of your trucks survived, it was a bonus. If they didn't, then the Orks, jumped out and they were in range by turn 2 to get into the thick of it. But trucks are very different now to what they used to be there. These used to be a great delivery system. Now they're much more used as a shooting platform, to give mobility to sort of shooter units and a bit of protection to shooter units, tank busters, for example. As a transport to sort of drop off assault units, not so much. I don't really see the use of them anymore. But yeah, they were so weak in this edition. Honestly, these things, you look at them and they would fall apart. Got the Storm Boys. Yeah, Storm Boys were cool. 9 points each. Oh, the hideous Deathcopter model. Good God, that thing's ugly. This has got to be one of the ugliest, worst models that GW have ever made. Oh, it's hideous. And it was never good. It's not something that's aged badly. This thing was always hideous. Look at it, it's awful. It looks like a sort of a amateur kit bash. I think this edition was also the edition that released the Ork Flyers as well. So we got a whole new sort of flying warfare. We've got the Dakka Jet, which was a popular one. Burner Bomber, Blitzer Bomber. All these vehicles as well could take the red paint job for 5 points to make them go faster, because red ones go faster. Good stuff. We've got the War Bikers. Talked about Ghazghkull Gutsmech there. This was the edition, I think, that dropped him, where he didn't appear on this edition. I'm fairly certain he was in the last edition before this, but it still talks about him. His history is still there. They still acknowledge him, but don't include rules for him, which is a shame. The last time we'll see this, guys. War Buggy is heading away. We're getting new vehicles replacing this. Cool vehicle, good options. You can change it to a Scorcher, a War Track, and the good thing about this model being dated and fairly bad as it is nowadays is some of the conversions that you guys have come out with. You've only got to type in Ork Buggy on Google image search and you'll see all sorts of really cool creations. The mech guns, got to get me some of these. Absolute bargain points. These are probably one of the stronger things in this codex for 18 points, and plus the points of the gun and the Grukk crew. Although some of the guns in here not so good. Battle wagon was cool, quite nice and customizable. 110 points. Front armor 14, side armor 12, rear armor 10. I do kind of miss that a bit actually. The old sort of armor facings. I do and I don't. Overall I don't, but I do kind of miss the sort of tactical side of things. I used to love the sort of satisfaction of being able to maneuver and get round and hit a vehicle in the rear and stuff. It was quite cool, and I do kind of miss that from the game a little bit. Flanking vehicles and stuff doesn't seem quite so relevant in this new edition. The Death Dread and the Killer Cans, they weren't great in this edition. Killer Cans certainly weren't anyway, although they did have, this rule I liked. If a unit of Killer Cans suffers 25% or more casualties during any one phase, a unit must roll a d6. At the end of that phase, add +1 to the dice roll if there are 3 or more Killer Cans in the unit. Add a further +1 if there are 1 or more Death Dreads within 6 inches of the unit. On a result of 3+, the test is passed and nothing happens. On a result of 1 to 2, the test is failed and every model in the unit immediately suffers a crew shaking result. Note that no models lose a hull point as a result of a failed cowardly Grokk test. So yeah, this was at a time when vehicles didn't have leadership values, but they kind of brought in a leadership value for them. So I was about to say I liked this rule, but I didn't like this rule. It was the edition previous to this that I liked. This one, you do get a bit of a buff if there's Death Dreads nearby, but I think it was in the older edition that if they were nearby a Death Dread, they were effectively fearless. I'm sure it was that one. We'll find out on the next episode. And here they are, the useless but gorgeous Ghazghkull and Morkanaut. Expensive as hell. Armoured up well, front armour 13, side armour 13, rear armour 12. Good stuff, but these were not good. These were just one-shotted constantly. If you're coming up against a couple of Laus cannons, you can kiss these guys goodbye in this edition. At least now, with the wounds they've got and stuff, they do actually survive for a good while. Well, a bit longer anyway. But yeah, these were they were not good. They were not good, and this was the edition where we had the sort of super heavies and stuff that were just running rings around these guys. But I bought one regardless because I loved the model. Looters were a big favourite in this edition. Again, probably one of the stronger points of the codex. Flash Gitz, they weren't competitive, and this was where they got the 6+ save, which GW have still stuck with in the current index. They've still got that bloody 6+ save, and everyone and their dog says that makes no sense. And I mean, a lot of the problems that people moan about with Orks now sort of stemmed from this edition. This is where a lot of crap things like this creeped in, and it was, you just couldn't see why, because they were 4+ saves before, or at least they had the option to have a 4+ save. And here, being a 6+, it just doesn't make any sense. These are the richest, most ostentatious Orks going. They've got this flash weaponry, all this bling. You think they wouldn't pay out for a bit of armour? And what makes it even more insulting is when you look at the models, they're fucking wearing the armour. They've got the armour plates all over them. So GW, sort that one out. Ghazghkull Thraka, in this edition became a Lord of War. And he had some pretty cool rules. He's pretty hench. Prophet of Gork and Mork. If Ghazghkull is your warlord, he gains a 2+ invulnerable save on any turn he calls a war. This invulnerable save lasts until the start of the next turn. In addition, Ghazghkull and all other models in his unit that are equipped with mega armor can run on a turn he calls a war, despite having the slow and purposeful special rule, which is conferred by wearing mega armor. Oh yeah, slow and purposeful and mega armor. Oh, hideous. If I remember it correctly, you didn't just move the normal 6 inches, you rolled a d6 to move. Oh, I would just roll a 1 every time if I had mega knobs. Yeah, that would be horrendous. It's much better now where they've just got I think it's a 4-inch move. They're much more mobile than they used to be. In this edition, with that slow and purposeful, you did not have maneuverability. Hence why it was important to load them in a truck or a battle wagon or something. But with Ghazghkull there, a 2+ invulnerable save, even though it's only for 1 turn, that's just, that'd be awesome to have. 2+ invuls. And the Stomper, cheaper than it is now, 770 points then. And that included all the war gear and weapons on it, although you could upgrade it a bit. You could take 2 additional super rockets, and you could take Grukk riggers to add, well, you could add some points on there. 30 points for the Grukk riggers, 20 points each for additional super rockets. All friendly units within 6 inch of a Stomper have the fearless special rule. This thing was a lot better than it is now, and cheaper as well. Well, let's see what 8th edition codex brings us. And then, of course, this being 7th edition, this is where we get formations. And we got the Ork Warband formation. And you had to include 1 war boss, 1 mech, 1 unit of knobs or mega knobs, 6 units of boys, and 1 unit of grots. And what did that give you? If this detachment is chosen as your primary detachment, you can re-roll the result when rolling on the Warlord traits table in Codex Orks. That's right, in this edition you couldn't choose your Warlord traits. You had to roll a dice for them, which, if you were trying to get some sort of character in your army, and you could roll something that just, never mind competitiveness, but it just wouldn't fit the character of your Ork war boss. This gave you the option to re-roll that. Greenskin Hordes. Every unit with 10 or more models in this detachment gains the Hammer of Wrath special rule in the assault phase. Stampede. If the formation's war boss is your warlord, he can use his War special rule each and every turn after the first. Yeah, that's pretty nice. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of formations. And this was, I think, this codex was the first faction codex out for 7th edition, so we got in there first. But then as all the other codexes came out, they got much better formations and detachments and things than we did, and so started running rings around us. A cool picture there. Imagine having a warband like that all painted up. I'm sure some of you have. I certainly haven't. Thing of beauty. And then we've got the appendix, where we've got the Warlord traits table, Prophet of the War, Bellowing Tyrant, the Warlord and all friendly units with the Orks faction within 12 inches of him re-roll failed morale checks and pinning tests. Yeah, pretty good. Brutal but cunning. The Warlord can re-roll 1 failed to hit or to wound roll each turn. Might is right. The Warlord receives +1 to the strength characteristic on his profile. Yes, so we got the special rules here, and this is where some of our special rules took a bit of a hit. So mob rule. Orks are simplistic, brutal creatures who love to fight and draw confidence from possessing strength in numbers. If every model in a unit has this special rule and the unit fails a morale check or pinning test after any rerolls, they may have roll immediately on the following table. Born to fight. If the unit is locked in combat, it is treated as bad. Breaking heads, squabble. Basically, they went a bit backwards here. In the older editions, if your unit of orcs numbered over 10, they were basically fearless, because as long as they had their mates around them, they weren't bothered about anything. But this edition changed that and really did weaken it. And this is probably the mob rule in 7th edition codex is probably the number one reason why people really dislike this codex, because they took one of our strongest features and nerfed the hell out of it. I mean, yeah, it was bad. Then we got gubbins and guns. All the statistics for set weapons, like the big chopper, strength +2, AP 5, melee 2-handed. So yeah, big choppers are a lot better now than they used to be. So add the strength +2, AP 5. So this wasn't punching through anything stronger than a guardsman armor, because AP again was very different then. It was a 2-handed weapon as well. So yeah. Yeah, so big choppers are something that's definitely improved since 7th. Flamer weapons, obviously used with the templates. Scorchers were good, but again, better now. Strength 5, AP 4, so Marines and stuff will still be getting their save. Now with Scorchers, we're getting AP -1. I love the new AP system. I never did like this AP system where it either went through or it didn't. Scorcher missiles. Heavy 1 blast, ignores cover, 1 use only. I think that was for the fighter jets. One of the custom mega blasters. Assault 1 gets hot, strength 8, AP 2. Say that's pretty similar really. Custom Mega Blaster hasn't really changed a whole lot. Ghazghkulls, back when they used to be good. Ghazghkulls, this is something that's definitely one of the few things in this codex we can say was better. Range 18, strength 6, AP 5, but it was a heavy 2 blast. When they got rid of the blast weapons, that really did affect the Ghazghkull badly. A weapon I used to love, but I don't use it anymore. I don't know if it's going to get better. Let's hope so. Grot Oilers, 1 use only. A mech rerolled a failed mech's tool repair roll. So that's changed. Grot Oilers now gives a +1 to the amount of wounds that are repaired on a vehicle. Grot Orderlies, 1 use only. I don't think Grot Orderlies are 1 use only now. Might be wrong on that. No, that's the one. Ammo Runt. They were 1 use only. They are not now 1 use only. I think they get, they can re-roll 1 dice every turn. Attack squigs were different as well. A model with an attack squig is allowed to re-roll 1 to hit roll in close combat each turn. So now obviously the attack squigs has like a profile of its own. Ork vehicle equipment, we used to get a lot more options. I'm sure a lot of these options will be coming back though. Things like the boarding plank, reinforced ram, stick bomb chuckers, grabbing claw. The death roller. This was another thing. I think the death roller was nerfed in this edition as well. What does it say about the death roller? A vehicle with a death roller treats its front armour as 2 higher than normal when ramming. In addition, if an enemy unit makes a Death or Glory attack on a vehicle with a Death Roller and fails to stop it, then the unit suffers D3, Strength 10, AP 4 hits, in addition to the damage they normally suffer for the failed attack. Furthermore, a vehicle with a Death Roller can reroll failed dangerous terrain tests. So yeah, Death Rollers were nerfed massively. Again, another thing that brought a lot of hatred in on this edition. It's Death or Glory attacks and things. You rarely saw those sort of things happen in the game. They nerfed the Death Roller a lot. That upset a lot of people. War Banner was still the same. All models in a unit that includes a War Banner add +1 to the weapon skill characteristic on their profile. War Banners were awesome then, they're still awesome now. And then we got Gifts of Gork and Mork, so we got Head Whoppers, Kill Chopper. And it was just slightly different there. It came with Rending, Decapitating, Strike. So very similar to how it is now, but let's hope we get some of these other ones back, like Definking Cap and the Lucky Stick. I'm sure we will see the Lucky Stick back. A fan favourite, that is. One of the few things in this codex that actually was really, really, really good. All models in the bearer's unit add +1 to the weapon skill characteristic on their profile. So it basically does what a War Banner did. In addition, the bearer can choose to re-roll any failed to hit or to wound rolls or saving throws that they make. However, should 3 or more of the re-rolls generate failed results in the same turn, the model is immediately removed as a casualty with no saving throws of any kind. So this was amazing. So not only did it have the benefit of a War Banner, but also you could re-roll sort of any dice, and as long as you didn't, what was it? However, should 3 or more of the re-rolls generate failed results, so as long as you didn't fail more than 3 of those re-rolls, you were fine. Absolutely. So you would just choose not, if you failed 2, you would just choose not to roll a third one, and yeah, the Lucky Stick was very cool. Power of the War, or psychic powers, like Frazzle, Ed Banger, Warpath, DeJump. See, DeJump, that's something that's currently really good in the index. DeJump is a blessing that targets the Psyker and his unit. Remove the unit from the board, it then immediately arrives using the same rules for Deep Strike anywhere on the battlefield. If the Deep Striking unit scatters and a double is rolled, the unit can only make snapshots until the start of its next turn. So that was slightly different. Obviously the Deep Strike rules, very different back then. Now we can Deep Strike fairly safely. We don't have the old mishaps table and stuff, and it works slightly differently there because the Psyker, the weird boy, actually went with them, which in itself could be pretty cool. That could open up all sorts of possibilities. Talks about old Zogwart here, covered him in a previous video. Ork Horde Detachment. Yeah, here we are, detachments. Again, they worked slightly differently then. If this detachment is chosen as your primary detachment, you can re-roll the result when rolling on the Warlord traits table. The Greenskin Hordes. Every unit within 10 or more models in this detachment gains the Hammer of Wrath special rule. So they didn't really get anything too strong. And then it's got sort of Ork tactical objectives and stuff in here. And then the handy reference guide at the back. So yeah, there we go. Overall, while it's a beautiful book with fantastic artwork, great lore and fluff in it, lots of good reading, I would say it's well worth picking up today. You can get it nice and cheap on eBay. People are flogging these things off dirt cheap now because they're of no use to people in game terms, unless you're one of those crazy people that loved 7th edition, then I don't know, be my guest, go and play it. I won't be playing with you, but in terms of competitiveness, this was not good. This was a weak codex. But in terms of just fluff and lore and some, you know, inspirational pictures and artwork and good stories and stuff in it, it's a good book. It's I like it. I'm just glad I don't have to play with it anymore. So yeah, there we go, guys. Ork Codex 7th edition. Not the most competitive codex we've had, but nonetheless, the book's got some good stuff to offer. I'm glad I own it. I like it for what it is. But yeah, it was a tough codex to work with, competitive wise. But yeah, anyway, there we go on that one. But as I said, this is merely the first episode in a series of videos. In the next episode, we will be travelling back even further in time, way back to 5th edition, to take a look at this. The 5th edition, that's not the 5th edition Ork Codex. This is the 3rd edition Ork Codex. 5th edition is actually in the post. So I'm waiting for that one to arrive. As soon as it does arrive, I will be filming that episode for you guys to enjoy. To see more on this wondrous, awesome, beautiful book, you'll have to wait for a future episode. So guys, if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, give it one of them. And if you don't want to miss any of these episodes, I need all you knobs out there to grab your big choppers and smash that subscribe button. 6+ Stevo, signing out.